Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Close Enough Season 3. I've been a big fan of J.G. Quintel since regular shows started. I felt like it was like seeing my life at the time when that started, how I was in my job, how I was in life. It was like Mordecai and Rigby. I loved it. I was really into it, and it felt like this personal show to me. Regular show ended pretty much right before I had my daughter was born. It felt like one era was ending, and when Close Enough started, and it's about a guy and his wife who have a daughter, although I have a son now, and they haven't done that yet, but maybe they will next season. But at the time when Close Enough started, it felt very direct to my life at the time, much like regular show had. To a point, when I'm watching it now, I guess it isn't that direct because I have another kid and other things, but it does feel almost so directly appealing to me. It almost feels like it's in the ether that I'm going to watch it, like more so than I feel with any other show at this point. Like this show is like calling to me and I'm calling to it, and we're just like stuck. We're stuck together, and it just feels so directly beamed at me. It almost is like, I can't believe this is even real. And I don't know if that makes me uncomfortable or that they are really good at making shows directly towards people like me, because holy crap, I do feel like a lot of this I was like, oh yeah. So that was running through a lot when I was watching season 3. It felt like very, especially the family stuff, which is usually the plotline I prefer. It feels like they do a little too many plot lines of everyone else, but I've gotten to like it more this season. I think this might be my favorite season so far. I don't remember how I felt about 1 and 2, but you can watch those videos. But I did like it a lot. In particular, I think certain episodes that just like had great concepts, particularly like in the beginning where you have something like where the Buffalo Roam, where they finally get to go, Emily and Josh finally get to go on a honeymoon. When they go on that honeymoon, it's at this place that was like for bison in silent film. Like, first, I love that we're talking about silent film bison. Like, let's do this all the time, baby. That was great. Hellspittle, I think, was another one that dealt with Jason Mantzoukas' character of Alex. That one's great because, and I think Bridget, the brain, did a similar thing where it's dealing with like your memories of your parents and why you're certainly afraid of certain things or how you became a certain way. And you almost, as an adult, you can like 100% understand how that happened. You might be younger and think, well, it wasn't all that. And now you're like, pretty much. Not everything, but certain things. And those two storylines, particular Hellspittle with Alex being afraid to go to the hospital because his dad went there and died, but I like how they covered that. I thought that was really, in fact, actually episode 2 might be my favorite overall because there's 2 things in each episode. And Bridget the Brain did a similar thing about her mom and how her and her sister went against each other. Those were both good episodes, and I thought good that covered those characters. But then you also have in the second one, Candace Revolution, and that is a great concept of an episode, I have to say. After Josh decides to make Candace pancakes for dinner, and she thinks rules have no meaning because they had breakfast for dinner. I was telling people about that one. I'm like, that's such a good concept. I love that idea that like a kid would go, rules have no meaning. We had breakfast for dinner, and then she tells other kids, and the rules and meaning of any authority at her school completely falls apart because of that. Hilarious, just outward, like totally hilarious. That is a great concept. I hats off to them because that was one of my favorites. That was a great episode. Certain ones like Randy gets his own episode. That's sort of fine. I also like episode 5 with Robots with Benefits, where Josh had a couple things with his job, more so than Emily did. We don't really see much with her job in this season. I think we see her at her job, but not a ton with it, where Josh gets a robot to do basically their IT work with them. As well as Alex comes over to his job as well, and those are both interesting episodes. But then in that same one, they have the weird kid where Emily feels like Candace is starting to ignore her and stuff, so she casts a spell to make her a kid. But then the B plot is, I sort of like it, where basically she wakes up in the body of a 5-year-old, but then Alex's curse asks him about like to fall in love with his offspring, but he doesn't have an offspring, so he just gets obsessed with the band The Offspring, and just pretty fly for a white guy. No other They have other songs. Like, they had a bunch of other songs, but they really committed to that, and I appreciate it. I thought that was funny. Jason Mantzoukas is really great in this. I think the one that most people are talking about is Halloween Enough, which was pretty much a regular show, a Halloween special. But in Close Enough, they all tell scary stories. That's fine. I liked it. I liked they had an opening joke about how The Simpsons Halloween special never aired on Halloween because of fucking baseball. And I was like, that's great for you. It's just like, thanks a lot, baseball. We can't not have baseball for a half hour. Jesus fucking. The one where Candace wakes up and she is in Cartoon Network Studios and she meets J.G. Quintel and thinks it's her dad, which is like, way to make it obvious. And they do a bunch of regular show jokes where he's like, oh, this is a grown-up show. Do you remember this show? And he's like, whoa. And then shows a picture of the show. And then he's wearing a Mordecai thing and Bridget's wearing a Jubilee costume. All that stuff is actually really great. I really liked Halloween Enough. I like Close Enough a lot. And I like this show. And I'm sorry I'm tough on it for being appealing to me so directly. But it does feel almost like too perfect at it. It's like, how do you do this so well? It's remarkable. Like, if they have another kid who's a son, I'm gonna be freaking out. But I do like the show a lot. I like what it's doing. I like what it goes. These crazy concepts reminds me of regular show a lot, but they're able to have kind of keep it in a regular kind of place, because even the Candace Revolution, I think, goes off on a concept which I think is funny and silly, but like goes into how important kids are with rules. Same with like Josh at his job, how he feels about his job, how he has to like sort of get this job to work for him because he needs it, because he has a family. Especially I like where the Alex and Bridget relationship goes, because it's kind of teetering throughout this and has a nice thing at the end. I still really like this show. If you've never seen Close Enough and made it this far, I think that's weird, but you should check it out. I think J.G. Quintel continues to basically get how I feel about being a millennial or being someone my age in life better than anyone at this time. He's very good at presenting what it's like to be an adult in this era, just better than anyone. And I'm hoping Close Enough will run for a while, because I think it's very good at what it's doing, and I feel like it has won me over when I was hesitant about following Bridget and Alex and even Randy. And Pearl gets an episode as well, which was decent. I'm liking that more and more. I still am like, I watch this for Josh and Emily, but they pretty much get a plot line every episode. I feel like it was curated better this season, and I do really appreciate that. So I like what J.G. Quintel is doing. I am still a little freaked out at how perfect it is at appealing to me. When I brought it up to friends, they're like, that is a little too perfect. Almost like we're on to you, or I'm in a Close Enough Halloween special for next year, and they'll just like be behind me and being like, that's right, Jim, we're here for you, and all that stuff. Either is possible, I think. And but Close Enough season 3 continues to not disappoint. I'm happy with it. It continues to be another great season of J.G. Quintel television. He's a very strong showrunner and creator. Oh, and I forgot about this. And interesting thing about this season, Bill Oakley was the showrunner, or was in charge of this, from Mission Hill fame, interestingly enough. I realized that in the credits. I forgot to mention it. Anyway, but this continues to be another great season of television, and I think is probably my favorite show that talks about people my age that I can just directly relate to. I'm like, oh wow, that's like every time he's done that, but he continues to do it and continues to do it about specifically like people like me. I don't disagree with any of it. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of us though. And I really love it for that. It doesn't annoy me yet. I'm like, part of me is like, it's just like too perfect. How does he do it? That's what I keep thinking when I was watching it. It's like, how does he make it so perfect? And he just like continues to be really good at like this kind of animation. And I am so happy as a viewer that I get to witness it at the time. And I think, he's a really kind of almost underrated creator in what he's doing, because it's not necessarily showy, but it's able to, I think, hit it so precisely that you almost think it's easy, but I feel like it's probably not as easy as we think it is. But it's almost too close, but maybe it's just close enough. All right. Alright, so if you have seen Close Enough Season 3 and would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.